SADEV 6-speed sequential
Bosch. That's going to go in there. Bush is going to go in there. These are going to weld onto there.
I need a bigger nozzle, really.
That's going to look pretty snazzy, that, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Right, hello, welcome to another video. I'm down at MTS Motorsport with Chris and Steve. We are working on the Mk3 Escort race car that you saw at Donington. And since then, you've had a bit of a hiccup. Oh, where's the piston? I've got to show
Big time, yeah.
I'll show you the pistons. So Chris had a little boo-boo with the old engine. So out with the old. In with the new. In with the new. Want to see the cylinder head? Yeah, we can show the cylinder head.
It dented here, if anyone can see there's a
little recess
there.
Yeah,
recess there, yeah.
I'm sure you can weld that in and re-skim it.
Yeah, that's
worth salvaging, I reckon.
I think so. I think so, and obviously it's such a shame because we got the bigger valves in it and
race cams. Yeah,
big cams. Reported the head. It was all redone, and then Steve did it all the back end, the size of them.
Not that you're going to be using this now, because going forward,
I'm just bitter.
To completely swap things about, he's going Duratec. We're just going to have a look, see what we've got to play with. So this is just a dummy engine. This is a 2-litre Duratec out of I don't know what
ST. It was out of the Fiesta ST.
Oh, like ST150.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's got the high flow head on it.
Okay.
That I was recommended from Steve at SPD. We've gone for his 310 kit.
Okay.
That he recommend that he
So
sells.
that is a standard crank? Or
so this is the thing. We was talking. We were going to go steel crank, but I spoke to Paul Exxon. I spoke to Steve at SPD. I spoke to Aaron at HT, Aaron Tucker, and he says, don't waste your money. Those cranks are good for 9,000 RPM. Right. Apparently, Paul Exxon said that they're not a cast crank. It's actually a forged type, essentially a steel crank, but a very mild type. But he says all of his...
It will be rods, pistons.
So we've gone for Steve's slipper type piston with the two piston ring type. With his rods and with his special, I forget the grade of bolt they use, but they're like £35 a pot. So he says they're the top end of ARP type bolts. The rods are longer. Yeah. And it's moved, the gudgeon pin is closer to the skirt, so it's moved the thrust angle.
You're not changing the CC, it's still going to be...
No, we're going 88mm, so it's still 2 litre, but on its maximum sort of bore.
And that's for the class that you're racing in, which is the B class.
Class B, yeah.
In the modified Ford series, which, again, you'll see all of the videos that we've previously done at track. Yeah. You're going to have big cams in it.
So yeah, he developed these. He's the only one that sells these cams that rated to 9 because we tried to go to Kent's directly. And he said no, he developed these cams. So we've gone for his spec, everything. Yeah. No, 1.5 oversized valves. Yeah. That he's got
the bigger valves as well.
So it's going to be all ported, all polished.
Yeah.
Big valves, big cams.
Big cams.
New pistons, rods.
Yeah.
All the
new
bolts.
Timing chain, the modified timing chain tension that's gone to it. Vernier pulleys on there. Dry sump.
Dry sump, yeah. And this little device down here, which looks quite impressive. So this is SADEV 6-speed sequential gearbox.
Is it the 8214 model?
That's 82, yeah, 8214. Wow.
So it's rated to 350 Newton meters.
Yeah.
And the reason we did they called it an ST75 kit. Or they did the ST82 kit, am I right thinking?
82 kit.
So the reason we went for this kit is because if we ever wanted to go to 2.5 or the 2.3 routes, that gearbox will take it. Yeah. So after spending £13,000 on that gearbox, we don't want to be changing this gearbox again. No. So we over-engineered it.
And that all comes with the drive shafts,
yeah.
all of the lever and digital dash.
That's right. The shifter, so it can't. I don't need the shift light because I'm running the NT.
And
that does it already.
And then the clutch and that, is that all part of the gearbox?
I've got the clutch. You want to see it?
Is that plated?
So we've got
full race boy ready for sitting in traffic on the M25.
So we're running. So we've gone for their tapered inlet manifold.
Nice.
We've got to swap them over.
Oh, okay. So you've got the individual bodies that then bolt onto
that
direct ahead
instead of the
back plate.
Yeah. Now this flywheel is the lightest they do, and I had to get it from SPD. I think it's a TTV flywheel.
Yeah.
You feel how like that is with the clutch.
Wow. It's a biscuit.
It literally is.
It's a digestive. With holes drilled.
Exactly. So we've gone for a. Let me undo this.
Is it a multi-plate or is it a single?
Single. We were running a twin plate. AP went for like not superseded it, but they've improved it.
Yeah.
So this clutch is rated to £220 foot.
What sort of power will the engine package be, do you reckon?
When I spoke to them, they said it would be torque figures between 191 to 200 pounds foot. So
NA, that's pretty stout.
NA, so it's pretty much.
Yeah, man.
That's what we run.
It's crazy.
Hey, tiny little plate.
It's crazy when like the bigger the spec, like the race engine stuff. You see like Formula 1 clutches are like the size of a little acorn.
Yeah, and it's funny because I watched your video of when it was at Full Power Live and had the F1 car there, and you were saying how
everything's so
dainty, you know, and what kind of like pressures it takes.
They've like literally engineered it right down to the minimal with the materials and stuff. So the plan is we need to mount gearbox side and the cam chain side, and we're going to chassis mount it. We're going to use something similar to this. You use a universal power flex bush in a tube, and we'll mount it kind of like here with a bracket onto the flat part of the engine, and then we're going to have to reinforce the crap out of this area with 3mm mild steel. And then we'll have some little tabs that come up, is the plan at the moment. And then we'll also integrate steady bar from the front cross member to some pickup points, hopefully down the front, and we'll do the same down the back. But you're going to get a Simpson race exhaust for this as well.
It's fully booked on Matt.
But yeah, he's going to do like a nice big tubular 4-into-1 and down and into the tunnel. You're getting rid of the your linkage cable, your gear linkage bar selector. That's in the bin because ours is all going to be a cable operated full race mode gearbox.
That's the plan.
And then we've just done a little notch out of that chassis rail, but we'll plate all that back in, reinforce all of that, and then we'll have another mount that mounts off of that chassis rail onto the 4 threaded fixing points on top of the gearbox. I went away with the cardboard templates and the measurements that we took, and I've cut a load of laser cut bits for our engine mounts that are going to go onto the gearbox and the engine side. He's gone away and got some universal polyurethane bushes. So that's going to be for the gearbox side and the cam chain side. And also, Carlo's kindly machined up some steel bars. We've got some rose joints from Comp Brake, and they're going to be our stabiliser bars either end. So yeah, the idea is gearbox side, that bolts onto the top of the gearbox. Got these, which are oversized, set up, and we'll cut them down if needs be, but they'll weld on like so. Bosh. That's going to go in there. Bush is going to go in there. These are going to weld onto there. That'll be the gearbox mount. We'll do something very similar on the other side of the engine. And then we've got another set of these that are going to go on that, and that's going to be our front stabiliser and back stabiliser. And yeah, we'll pick up on the back of the gearbox and the front of the bell housing, hopefully, is the plan. So just going to whip the engine out, scurf down all the inner wings, and then start reinforcing them with some plate steel.
You know.
Yeah, Chris was like, yeah, you know what you're doing. I really don't. We're going to wing it today, but... Right, so Chris has done this little cutout for the tail end of the gearbox, so we've got to kind of build this back up with 3mm plate steel, and then I'm just templating some reinforcement that we're going to weld all onto here. Probably end up putting some little cheeky gussets up here as well. I might even extend the plate up there a bit, just so that it kind of ties the bracket onto this chassis rail. Template it up, cut all this out of steel, scurf this all down, and then we'll blob it all in.
All that filler. Oh, mate. You can smell that two-pack, can't you? I just painted.
So Paul's rocked up, he's manning the welder now. He's going to be welding in the top plate in there, boxing all that in, and then we can put the main reinforcement plate over the top of everything. So I've put a bit of masking tape on there, and I'm just going to peel this off and hopefully use that as a template on the steel to cut that shape, and then we can weld it on, hammer it over, weld that on, and then that'll be our reinforcement plate for this timing chain side engine mount. Boom. Halfway through doing what we're doing, we've reinvented the wheel and come up with a new solution. Paul, explain what we're going to do now.
We're going to basically weld some tubes in down through the chassis rail, weld them across the top, weld them across the bottom, so we can then just bolt the gearbox mount on the top rather than welding it on. One, to gain its access in the future, it doesn't get in the way, plus it gives us a little bit more freedom on adjustment when the final fit comes.
Yeah, and so basically, because Chris has got his RS 1600i fancy pants front suspension, it's an arse to drop the engine out through the bottom. Yeah. And if we weld on big plates here, you're going to have to drop the engine out through the bottom. So with a bolt-on inner wing bracket, then you've got the ability to take that off, take this off, and lift the whole engine box out. It's future-proofing it. Yeah. Properly engineered. So now's the time to do it. So yeah, drill some holes in here. Norris at Revolution RMS, he's going to turn down some tubes. We can push them through, weld them top and bottom. And yeah,
they've got threads in, so
they'll have threads in, yeah. Right, all we've got to do is do it. So let's get to it.
Crack on.
Engine out for the 15th time.
Oh, hang on, drive shaft.
So we've got our tubes turned down, threaded ends, little nubbin on the bottom, and that now goes into the hole that Paul has drilled and locates. Have you drilled the bottom hole as well? Yeah, wicked. So we can weld around the top, plug weld the bottom. Do you reckon we need to weld through here? So if we drill a couple of holes here, and then we can plug weld onto that as well. And then the plate, I've just hammer bent this plate, and this is going to be the start of our bracket that's going to go onto that, and then we'll have the two blades that come off of that line up with the cotton reel mount that we're putting on top of the gearbox. So Paul's welded in the tubes, and now we're just finishing boxing in the cutout on the chassis rail. What's next after that, I suppose? Start to make the drill the holes in our plate that goes on top. I think we'll have to offer up the engine back in and see where we're at. Yeah. And start making one bracket meet the other bracket. More welding.
A few moments later.
Right, so all of this has been welded up and boxed out. We've got another layer of skin of metal in there now. The tubes are all welded in. So we've got our massively oversized inner mount that we're going to mark up, drill for the two holes. We're going to end up putting another couple of fixings somewhere in through this face, and we'll probably bolt it through the inner wheel arch. But until we've got everything else in situ, we don't really know where those two holes are going to end up. On this side, we're prepping it because we're going to be mounting the reinforcement plate. This is a 3mm plate that we've been heating, fettling. So that's going to get welded in there, and then I think we're going to offer the engine up.
Fingers crossed.
We're just winging it now. Offer the engine up, and then I think we're going to try and finalise the positions on this mount, and then we're going to try and work out the best plan, whether or not we're going to try and do a bolt-in option or welded in tabs. We don't know yet. Yeah, I think we just need to get it to a point where we finish that side and we can play with that side.
Yeah, use that side as the reference.
Yeah. Once that's all tied in, then we can move the engine forward and back, up and down, get it all level. But yeah. It's taken a lot longer than I thought it was, if I'm honest.
I know.
I thought we'd be pretty much dusted by now and the engine all mounted, but...
It doesn't, yeah.
No, it never works out that way, does it?
I know. Too sensitive, isn't it?
That's what she said.
I need a bigger nozzle, really.
That's what she said.
We flame grill our whoppers.
So we're offering the engine back in. Going to get it to the right level and position. That's one of the plates that I cut, so that bolts onto the top of the gearbox. We've just swapped over, hanging it from this point because we need to get to this point up to here. And now we're just going to play around, get the drive shafts pretty straight, engine where we want it height-wise, and then yeah, we're just going to start trying to make up bits to go from this bracket to that bracket.
Otherwise it's just T-ring. I think we need to sort of make a proper mount, like get the engine on a proper block so it's square.
Okay. It's got the right in it.
Yeah.
That's just not the bit that we can rush.
No.
Now we've spent a long day on it.
Yeah, it's
We're all rushing it.
At the bottom, at the end, because this is like hitting this. The rock is hitting the strut.
Is there any way that we can do it on a pallet truck?
That's what I mean. It's nearly.
If you had two pallet trucks, then you could pump one up, pump
what
the
you
other
should do,
one.
I think, is put the car up in. And your roll bars in the way.
I think take the anti-roll bars off.
Yeah, take them out of the way because you don't need them in there to do this bit, do we?
No.
Except for the drive shafts. That determines the position of those, isn't it? But I think what we need to do is get the engine on a block, square.
Yeah.
So that the engine's properly solid and square. You can move the car up and down. You can move it on the block, but it's still not tipping it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Because the problem is, as soon as we touch it, it's all over the place. MTS.
Oh right, okay. So it could go over the top then, couldn't it? Just sit over the top of it.
And then once we've done it all, I mean, I can tiggle this up. If you spot it, I'll tig it all up, and then I'll draw.
Is that something we should do now? Tack it up?
It's not in the right place.
But we don't know. It might move forward and backwards until we've got the engine.
So I think, yeah, if you brought them sort of like so that plate sat across the top of those two, rather than in the middle.
Well, yeah. So
yeah, just sort of
can
like
you pinch them together?
Yeah, I think that'd be right. Still enough strength there, isn't there?
Or go half and half, and then I'll get a
Then
big,
you can
I can
tig
get
it
a
in
big
there,
fat
can't you?
weld round there.
You take that in there.
I think also I'll pepper this with holes as well, like
Can't you laser cut it before you do it? And I just chop a big, nice, funky shape out.
big penis.
Yeah.
I could pay money for that. That's going to look pretty snazzy, that, isn't it?
Yeah, man. And
So
then
right.
off
And
of
then-
here we need to make up. I think we can do these out of 3mm. I don't think these have to be 5mm. Or would you do them out of 5mm just as a matter of? And then
Just
I've
do
also,
about 5, I think.
and then I've got we've got these on here.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
They ain't going nowhere. It's gonna look like a professional.
Well, if that's boxed across the top,
Right.
if you pocket that out, box it across the top, put that gusset in,
That's
well
well
strong
strong,
enough.
yeah.
So that end's right. This end's.
I'll put that tube back in because it kind of holds it all together, I think.
Yeah, we'll call it, because we've got to get this bit's crucial now.
Yeah, there's no point rushing the last bit.
No. Right, so we're going to call it a night. It's got dark. We've been on it all day. Made some good progress, but yeah, I think we're going to come back to it with fresh heads and try and get the engine level on a pallet or a bread trolley and then work around that, because at the moment it's just all over the place and we need to make sure that this bit's right and we measure twice, cut once.